Though I wish I were a highly trained broadcast specialist like Rush Limbaugh, I still try to do my best to bring to you those issues in politics that really need to be approached from a theological, historical, and philosophical perspective. And one thing that we're doing is covering a book in our Sophie Scholl Society called The Church in Babylon, written by Erwin Lutzer. He says the church in America is in Babylon, not geographically, but spiritually and morally. How will we respond? So come join us, if you will, August 21st, 11 a.m. That's the third Wednesday of the month. August 21st, 11 a.m. Kyantone Congregational. Well, tragedies are to be mourned, not exploited. That's why I so appreciate the 5 on Fox. 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They've been talking about this matter of what took place in El Paso and Dayton. Now, I would say that those are atrocities more than they are tragedies. Oh, of course they're tragedies, loss of life, but the word atrocity brings out the evil that was present in those two situations. So, we ought to be mourning over them, but what you see politicians doing and those in the media, they're exploiting it for political gain. Normal people, unlike those on major media outlets, are not calling the president a leader of the white supremacist movement. We've been hearing rhetoric like that. That is not helpful. As much as leftist politicians and leftist media outlets exploit the atrocities in El Paso and Dayton, I feel like it's my duty to deal with what leftist clerics have issued in the form of a warning about Christian nationalism. The statement that they came out with is endorsed by at least 17 Christian leaders of churches and denominations or organizations elsewhere. It includes leading names from Episcopalian, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, Presbyterian USA, American Baptist denominations, and a person like Jim Wallace, who is basically the head of Sojourners magazine. You can tell right there, if you know your denominations and individuals, that these basically all are leftist. That is to say, they lean left theologically, which also leads them to lean left politically. So in their statement, they came out with these remarks. As Christians, our faith teaches us everyone is created in God's image and commands us to love one another. Wholeheartedly agree with that. As Americans, they say, we value our system of government and the good that can be accomplished in our constitutional democracy. Hold on. We're not a democracy. We are a republic. Today, we are concerned about a present threat to both our religious communities and our democracy: Christian nationalism. Do they have substance behind what they are saying? They say, Christian nationalism seeks to merge Christian and American identities, distorting both the Christian faith and America's constitutional democracy. Again, they use democracy rather than republic. But that's minor considering what they are saying. Christian nationalism demands Christianity be privileged by the state and implies that to be a good American, one must be Christian. And I ask, who is saying that? And where do we find this being said? They say, that is, these leftist clerics, it often overlaps and provides cover for white supremacy and racial subjugation. Where is that being said? What evangelical leaders are doing this? Are they creating something that's really not there? We reject this damaging political ideology and invite our Christian brothers and sisters to join us in opposing this threat to our faith and to our nation. Again, I have to ask, who is behind this threat? its leaders, websites, and publications. In what churches and Christian institutions is this being promulgated, circulated, and promoted? The leftist clerics do not say. These leftist clerics say, we must stand up to and speak out against Christian nationalism, especially when it inspires acts of violence and intimidation, including vandalism, bomb threats, arson, hate crimes, and attacks on houses of worship against religious communities at home and abroad. And I ask, what Christians, what evangelical Christians are calling for and supporting vandalism, bomb threats, arson, hate crimes, attacks on houses of worship, and against religious communities at home and abroad? The leftist clerics say, whether we worship at a church, mosque, synagogue, or temple, America has no second-class faiths. I concur with that. But in Islamic countries, they most certainly do, and they are called dhimmis. All are equal under the U.S. Constitution, the leftist clerics say, and I would agree. As Christians, we must speak as one voice, condemning Christian nationalism as a distortion of the gospel of Jesus and a threat to American democracy. In response, I like what Family Research Council's David Clausen, who is the director of Christian Ethics and Biblical Worldview, says. At best, this project of this leftist clergyman group is a solution in search of a problem. At worst, it's an attempt to drive conservative Christians out of the public square. To me, it's a term that these leftist clergymen have come up with to use as a verbal club to silence, intimidate, and demonize people these clerics disagree with, especially Christians who have a conservative point of view on political policy. It's a phrase being used like the phrase or word racist, bigot, homophobe, Islamophobe, xenophobe are being used by the left to stop debate and marginalize those with political positions opposite to theirs. We want to continue to speak up as believers and not let a term like Christian nationalism be used against us in ways that intimidate and silence. We want to speak up with clarity. We want to speak up, yet with a voice that shows compassion and concern. And we want to do it in a language that is not boorish, coarse, or insensitive. We want to use that language that's seasoned with salt. So let us be winsome and unafraid to speak boldly into the public square where some would have us be silent. Thank you for joining me on the Sophie Scholl Society today.